Hi, I'm Nick from VTax Australia. Today we're talking to small businesses, freelancers, photographers, Uber drivers, sole traders primarily, who don't have employees, just very simple one-man operators that want to prepare their tax and BAS the simplest way without buying expensive bookkeeping software. Okay, so if you're one of those people I just mentioned, this is going to really help you. Now, how do we do it without bookkeeping software? Well, fortunately, with online banking these days, we can get the transactions, export them to a spreadsheet using this button down here, which we'll get to in a little while. Import them into a spreadsheet, a bit like this one here, and add two bits of information. We just add the GST status of each of those transactions and a category, just so that we can sort it later. But before we do that, let me just tell you a couple of other things about having a business transaction account. Okay? Now, the reason we have a business transaction account is so that we know there's no personal transactions in here. Okay? All of our suppliers are paid through this bank account. When we're out and about, we use this bank account to pay for things that we need, parking, materials, whatever it is. And all of our income comes through this account too. So when we invoice a client, it has our bank account details on the invoice. Mine are just up here. So if you want to pay me some money, there you go. That's all you need to pay me some money. Now, let's get stuck in. Okay. Oh, and first, another thing I'd quickly like to mention. Get yourself one of these. Get yourself a debit card which is attached to that business account with a Visa or a MasterCard facility. Then you can buy things online. You won't have to use your personal card to buy things online. I know a lot of my clients, they don't have these cards attached to their business account, so then they have to buy things on their personal credit card. Time goes by, they forget they've even done it, and I know that a lot of them are missing transactions when we do their tax return or we do their BAS return, and they end up paying more BAS and they end up paying more tax, and that's the last thing we want to do. Okay, so here we go. Here's my bank account. First of all, I'm going to select a date range for the transactions I want to look at. So, for example, I might be doing my December quarter BAS. Okay, so that goes from the 1st of October. Just enter the date in here. You can use these little calendar icons to select the date, or you can just type it in, to the 31st of December 2016. Then I click search, and it's going to bring up all those transactions for me. There you go. There's the transactions. Okay, that's all my business transactions. I know there's very little personal transactions in there. All my personal direct debits come from my personal account, and all my business direct debits come from this account. All my invoices come into this account, so I know when I'm coding this for my accountant to do my BAS or tax that everything in here is what I need. Then a lot of different business accounts are different bank accounts are different, but most of them are similar. You set the date range and then you export those transactions. So I'm going to click on this button here. This is Commonwealth Bank, and there's lots of different formats. The format I'm going to export to is CSV, and that can be opened in MS Excel. So I'm just going to quickly click that, and bang, there it is. I'm in Excel now. These columns are typically the same for the bank accounts. Just going to open them up a bit so we can have a closer look. Now, the bank accounts capture lots of information regarding the supplier, obviously the date, the amount. Here's the description with the supplier details and whatnot, which will jolt your memory. And this one's the balance, which we don't need today, but it's there if you do happen to need it. Now, all we're going to do for each transaction is add a little bit of extra information. Okay. So this was money going out, $5.95, Venture IP. They're my internet host for my website, so I'm going to code that. I know they're registered for GST, so I say GST on expenses. Okay, and then in the next column, I'm just going to give it a one-word category. Now, because it's from my website, that falls into advertising. I'm going to call it advertising. Okay, and the next one is $50 income. So that's GST on income. And that's just income. You could call it sales if you liked. Now, the next one is $12 income. So, the same code again. GST on income. Now, I'm just looking here, jumping ahead a little bit. This one was a subscription. I'm just looking down here. I withdrew $100 to live on there. Okay, so in that example, if I was a sole trader, I'd put BAS excluded, and I'd code that as owner's drawings. I'm just looking now for any other transactions which are a bit different. We've got GST on expenses, got GST on income. Sometimes you have GST-free expenses for things like bank fees. Now here's one, an international transaction. Now, banks don't charge GST on everyday bank fees. They do for merchant fees, but this is an international transaction fee. So for this one, I'm going to code it as GST-free expenses. I'm jumping here just to show you a variety of different types of transaction. And this one is bank fees. Okay. So you just keep going like that until all the transactions for the quarter are complete, and then you send it to your bookkeeper. Okay. Now here's one I prepared a little bit earlier. Let's see if I can find it. Okay. Here's one I prepared earlier. So I've gone ahead and I've done a few more. I've got contractors, travel for parking, subscriptions, owner's drawings, advertising, motor vehicle, fuel and oil. So I've coded everything in here. I've done about a month's worth here. Now when you send this to your bookkeeper, that's really all they need. How simple's that? Your bookkeeping's done from your point of view. And we know we haven't missed anything because we only have one business bank account, and everything goes through that because we've been disciplined. You could even write on your business cards, you could write up here somewhere on a sticky label or an indelible pen, business account, so you don't get confused when you're out buying personal things and you accidentally use the wrong card. We're trying to avoid that as much as possible. So we have this. Now what the bookkeeper will typically do is they'll select all the transactions that you've coded and they'll just sort them. They might sort them firstly by the GST code. So they might say custom sort, sort by column E, which is where we put our GST codes. There you go. Now all the owner's drawings is BAS excluded, and they all come first at the top here. Then we've got GST free expenses, all in here. Okay, and this makes the bookkeeper's life a lot easier. The bookkeeper or accountant's life is easier, then they're not going to charge you as much. Okay, plus you're going to have a better idea of where you are at any given point during the year. Now, you can export these transactions once a week if you like, or you could do it once a month, whatever you feel comfortable with. You're going to have to do it at least once a year for tax time, and if you're registered for GST, you're going to have to do it once every quarter. If there's any questions, please leave some questions in the comments below. I'll leave our website and our phone number there, and feel free to contact us if you have any issues. Thanks very much for watching.